The Australian federal system, the federal government has very strong taxation capabilities, but very weak responsibility or capability in the area of spatial planning, whereas the state governments within our framework have relatively weak taxation powers, but they are responsible for most spatial planning activity, including legislation for the planning system, but also the preparation and implementation of metropolitan plans for our major cities. So in a system like Australia's, where the federal government decides that for reasons of national importance we require a national urban policy, it has a tricky task in being able to achieve the development of and implementation of a national urban policy. So it has to work with the state governments on urban policy development, and fortunately over the last 30 years we've had developed a medium level framework called the Council of Australian Governments, which brings together the state and federal government to discuss matters of national importance that cut across state boundaries. And metropolitan planning has become a concern for the Council of Australian Governments, and we now have seen a process whereby the Council of Australian Governments has come to a unified federal and state view on national principles for metropolitan planning for our major cities, and now the federal government has responded to that with its own national urban policy, and the state governments are now revising their metropolitan plans to incorporate those national metropolitan planning principles. Well, in terms of implementation, there are two key levels related to the different capabilities of the two major levels of government. So the federal government has the capacity to provide money for major projects, infrastructure development, other kinds of urban program that require a funding level. But the state governments are the levels of government that actually have the administrative capability and responsibility and constitutional capability to actually undertake the delivery and implementation of those projects. So in our system, achieving urban policy reform is quite difficult, and it requires each level of government to cooperate and act in conjunction with each other in regards to their respective areas of capability.